Yo, 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 yo. We are the ill-advised wise guys. It's your boy Uchay. I got my boy
QDeezy for Sheezy. It's way too easy. AKA, you see that? Widow's Peak Bandit Easy is in the house. What's up, guys?
What's happening, people? We are back once again for another episode. I know you guys missed us. I know. I get it. We were gone. We were busy handling some business. In the words of Lil Scrappy, I was handling my bid naive. All right? We got to handle the bid naive. All right? If you know what I'm talking about, right? Anyway, this is episode 126.
126.
Shout out to the gang. Shout out to the Wise gang. We appreciate y'all for pulling up on us. If you are a recurring listener, if you just heard us for the first time, welcome. Hope you brought some gifts. We have some cool things to say. We also have a guest on this episode too, and we're going to intro here in a few here. But Q, I just gotta say this one thing for you, man. Like, please, just do me a favor and stop changing your usernames on Twitter, man. Just stop it. What? You do know that that's an issue, right? From a SEO standpoint, people don't know how to find you anymore, right?
Yo, you know what? It's I'm trying to bring back Where's Waldo? Where's QD? You know, I wanna prove to you I'm not spam. But
okay,
yeah,
okay.
I went back to my old school, so I don't know. I've obviously, if you are a fan of mine from back in the day when I was blogging in 2012, I had a website called The Widow's Peak Bandit, and there I would talk about anything and everything. So I brought back the old moniker,
right?
WP Bandit, just for this show. So
I hear you. Listen, I get it. Thank you for the explanation. We kind of needed that. Not solely, but we kind of needed it.
Oh, do you want to know my other nicknames?
No, actually I don't.
Michael Gordon?
No,
okay.
Please. Stop. No, please. I can't do it. No, listen, guys. We have a special guest. Her name is Camryn Suzanne. Is that how you go by, or just Camryn?
Camryn Suzanne.
Okay. Got it. She is a YouTuber / personality / writer / dancer. Keep slashing, if you will. Really dope up and coming content creator at the end of the day. And so say what's up. How you doing?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here today. I know there's a lot of titles, but I love music. I am a dancer professionally, so I do backup dancing with artists, so I get a good inside look at the process that goes into that. Like he said, I write. I studied broadcast journalism. I graduated school 6 months ago. Go Wayne State, shout out. So I'm really happy to be here. This is my first podcast. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into your background a bit and then get into some of the topics.
Cool.
But first, I hope you guys enjoy this paid promoted snippet from young Cvsper. This song is called Up on My Bag. Check it out.
Up on my bag, finna go scrap to a jag, finna go double the bag. My haters, they finna be mad. Finna go bank with the best of them. Fuck all the hate and the rest of them. They upset cause I wouldn't invest in them. So let's load, so I'm glad that it's less of them.
Young cash, big deuce, we the burbs of the block. Since I popped out, my pops got the shit on knock. Got these hating motherfuckers with their panties and knots, waving cash on the gram with a cameo block. Man, stop, you cannot fuck with me, we on a whole nother level. You suckers are under me, gripping this mic till I'm spitting and dungarees beating this beat up. They call it the bludgeoning. Who's next for the encore? Killed a couple rappers, got a taste and now they want more. Teaching little baby, see my name up on the chalkboard. Mr. Heavy Hitter, he the hardest with a hot for. Buffalo bitch and we burning you bastards. Build you up low, but you better not bash it. Stay in the rapids, the waves are too massive for banking. I'm blows when you float on that whack shit.
Yo, that was hard as fuck. Finna go up on my bag. Finna go scrap to a jag. Finna go double the bag.
All right. That was Young Cvsper's song. Go stream that on every digital streaming platform. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, not podcasts. Y'all know the deal. Y'all already know. But yeah, so Q, what's good, man? How you feeling? You good? You good? I want you to kind of kick off the intro here, man. I know that putting
you
you
want
on
me
the
to kick off
spot.
the intro?
Yeah, man.
Okay,
Go for
yeah,
it, man.
good. You know, I'm good, enjoying life. The weather is nice.
You feeling good? Feeling great?
Feeling good, feeling great, feeling rejuvenated. I've been playing basketball a lot more lately. So feeling injured, feeling old. Listening to music. You know what I just started doing? I just started going back to my old music. So listening to old stuff.
Ooh,
So literally I purposefully listen to just random playlist on iTunes, old stuff pretty much. And you know what I noticed? There's some trends in hip hop that they used to do that they don't do anymore. Like, remember back in the day in hip hop when people would brag about their car features? Like I got suede on the seats.
Of course.
I got pushed to start.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yo, that's so funny.
You know what I
That's
mean?
so funny.
Oh yeah, when my trunk's in the front. Like, so I just been enjoying music, man, in this summertime, man. Chilling.
I like that, man. I really do, man. That's so funny. It reminds me of a song I heard with Wiz Khalifa, and he was bragging about push to start. Like, in my car, push to start, and I'm like, dog, does he know like every car does that now?
every car is like that now, literally.
Like those type of references don't age well. You feel me? So I don't know. It is what it is. But Camryn, talk to us. Like, how did you get into, and by the way, I'm glad you said professionally dance. We don't want we don't want the people to get confused. Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about like choreographed style. How did you get into that?
So the dancing portion, I started dancing when I was like 3. And I always wanted to do it. I actually went to my parents and was like, I want to dance. So I started dancing from 3 and I never stopped. But there was a point, maybe when I was like 12 or 13, that I got really serious about it. So I started training heavily in ballet and modern. Before I was more like a hip hop girl, but I really wanted to start exploring other styles. And yeah, so I got the chance to travel to New York and LA. I actually got to train with Debbie Allen out there, which was really cool. And since then,
Legend,
I went
right there.
yes, a legend. So it was great to like soak up all of that knowledge. And then I went to college. I studied dance and broadcast journalism. And I got in connect with someone, her name is Della, who is someone I've mentioned before, but she dances for Chris Brown. And she explored and opened up this world to me about commercial dancing. And commercial dancing is really just like dancing for music videos, dancing on stage. And ever since then, I've been dancing for artists, kind of co-choreographing, dancing on stage. So it's been a really fun journey, and I just want to keep continuing to do it. So that's my dance story condensed.
Got it. That's what's
That's
up.
awesome.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's really
awesome.
really cool. That's really.
So is there
really
like
cool.
a particular dance style that you specialize in? Like break dancing or
And it's funny you mention that because I've taken break dancing. I literally have. I've taken break dancing. I've taken flamenco.
Oh wow.
I've done point.
Oh.
Like I do everything. I would say I don't know. I do a little bit of everything. I can't say that there's just one that I specialize in, which is kind of cool, right? I mean, like I take enjoyment in being able to kind of shapeshift and do everything. So yeah, I guess some of my favorite is probably like I love ballet. I like heels, hip hop, contemporary. So those are like my mains, but I do a bit of everything.
Okay, that's
dope.
dope. I specialize in 2 steps. So 1 2 step. I might do a 3rd step, but
Hey, you can do a lot with a 2-step. You can do a lot with a 2-step. So
Yo, I don't know about that, man. Like, I can kill the cha-cha slide. Is that like 3 steps or like 4?
That's
like,
multiple steps.
How does
That
that
is
work? Because cha-cha slide, I'm
like
a
15.
beast.
that's
Yeah.
what's up. Or like the Cupid shuffle,
Cupid shuffle.
Cupid shuffle.
And actually,
Yeah, but Cupid shuffle, you end up by the exit.
yeah.
That's how many steps you taking.
No,
You
and
start.
I would say hustling is a talent in itself. All like the different like black hustles and 2-steps stuff like that. So if you can do some of those, I think you can get some credit for being a pretty good dancer.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
there you go. Ooh, see?
I'm
See?
gonna take that. Even though
Give me my
I've never
credit.
I've never been told that in life, but I'm glad a
Take it.
professional dancer is telling me this. So damn it, it's true. I can dance, guys.
Give me
can
my
dance.
credit. Give me my respect.
Dance is for everybody.
could
That's what I
dance.
always say. Dance is for everyone. So
Thank
I don't
you.
know. I don't know about that. I've seen some people without rhythm, and they look lost, and it doesn't look like there's anything that can help and save them. I'm
you're
sure,
right. You're
right?
You're right, but dancing is very natural though. Think about how like people are always dancing. Like even if you can't dance, right? Everybody doesn't
Yeah.
just sing. But everybody's probably gonna
That's true.
bop their head, or do something. So I always say like
Oh,
there's
so you
levels
couldn't. That's
to it.
dancing. Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really
that's
is.
dancing.
I'm telling you guys, like there's a whole social, like cultural component to it that's not just like super professional. So I always say like embrace it, have fun, like go to the club, look crazy, get drunk, have a good time, do what you got to do. But dancing is fun for me too, like outside of all of the
I like that.
professional
Right,
stuff.
right,
I
right.
just like to
That's
do
dope.
it.
That's
So,
really, really cool. So like
Yeah.
from a content creation standpoint, I know you're a YouTuber and
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. Like, how did you get into content creating and what do you kind of specialize in? I guess because YouTube is another world. If you guys are not on YouTube, like I would say I am as a viewer,
Mm-hmm.
you probably don't know this, but like you can find any and everything and everybody on YouTube doing something. So what's your lane on YouTube? I know, but I kind of want you to explain to the people.
Yeah, so for my YouTube channel, I started this one maybe in like 2018, 2017, but I had a YouTube channel when I was a kid. I feel like everybody had a YouTube channel at some point, but I didn't take it seriously. Got back to it with this channel, and I've been specializing in music reactions, like music commentary and social commentary I've been getting into more. But I have to say, this is very honest. Now that I've monetized on my channel, it can be very like dicey doing a lot of music reviews because sometimes it gets copywritten, so it'll either get taken off the internet or you don't get paid. So I'm kind of selective with what I listen to because I want to, when you start making money off something, you really don't want to be wasting your time. But also just for copyright reasons, like I try to expand my content. So I would say music commentary, social commentary. And I also post some dance videos. Like I film dance visuals using my projector and I video edit. And definitely go check some of those out as well because I put that in there. I think it makes me stand out from other people. So yeah, that's kind of my lane or lanes. I'm still figuring it out though.
That's dope.
Right.
Yeah, I'm figuring it out as I go.
Multi-talented.
Yes, thank you.
You
Yeah.
You should add that to like your name.
Right. Yeah.
The multi-talented Camryn.
Multi-talented. I can't even like when I go down the list. I'm like video editing. I do graphic designing. I'm currently trying to learn how to do animation, dancing, writing, filming. It's crazy. So,
Marketing,
Yeah,
probably,
it's-
because
I told
everybody's their
you.
own marketer.
100% branding.
We're gonna have to start calling you Slash. Like that's a cool nickname. Like
That is a cool nickname.
like
Slash.
that would be dope. Like
I like that.
Camryn Slash. And everyone's gonna be like, wait, why is she called Slash? Because I do all types of shit.
I do it all.
That's why.
I like that. I might actually look into
Why you say it's so gangster though?
Because that's how you
Why
gotta
you say it's so
respond.
gangster?
When
That's
somebody,
how-
because that's how I do all types of shit. You gotta
sound
respond that
like
way, yeah.
You're a part of a gang. I do it all.
I like that. I'm gonna actually. I might steal that. And if I do, just know that it was established today.
Look,
Established today.
that's what I do. I like to inspire, but listen, I will take royalties. Trust me,
Yes.
I'm open to that.
Okay.
I'll send you. I will take royalties. That's
I think
okay,
that's kind of fair. That's kind of fair because I wouldn't have thought of that. Like Slash. Anytime anybody asks me, what do you do?
That's good. There was no negotiation or arguing because I just watched Shark Tank yesterday.
Right,
Shark
right,
Tank the
right.
whole time. 50%. Yeah. I'll do 40. Yeah. You know that the music. And they just staring each other down.
Like,
yeah.
45% and 10% equity in your company. Yeah.
never agreement, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
I like that. So so that's cool. I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, I think you guys should all get over to her channel and subscribe. You know, I think
For
it's
sure.
I think it's a really, really cool channel. I see the growth. Clearly, everything's on the up and up. And yeah, that's why we want to bring you into the convo today. We have some really, really cool topics. And before we get into what we're talking about on this episode, let's go over the church announcement, guys. I know it's not Sunday. Maybe you might be listening to this on a Sunday.
Maybe.
But get over there to our Zero Skips playlist. It's on Spotify. It includes some of the hottest up and coming talent that, you know, at least that we think you guys should be checking out. Music from, you know, underrated artists. You know, it really includes a song from Young Cvsper. We talked about him earlier. He has a few songs on there. But I really think that you guys are sleeping on a couple artists. And really, there's a whole world of artists that literally y'all have never heard. But I think if you go hit that link in the bio or the description or wherever it is that we will paste the link, head over to the Spotify playlist and check it out right now on Spotify. Q, what we talking about, man? What you want to plug, bro? What you want to plug?
You know it. Ratings Game Music. Check us out, ratingsgamemusic.com. Personally, I think the best music review site on the planet. I am not being biased. Actually, maybe a little bit. We got music. We got album reviews for Lizzo. She just dropped something new. Lloyd Banks. He just dropped part 2 of The Course of the Inevitable. I think it's pretty dope. And then you got to check out a review on Lotto's new song. You know, I told you earlier I felt demand.
Yeah.
After I listened to the song. So check us out on ratingsgamemusic.com. Follow us on Twitter and IG. Twitter Ratings Game, Instagram Ratings Game Music. And then, you know, catch me at your local grocery store. Lately I've been eating Brussels sprouts and I've been eating asparagus and you know, I might be in the vegetable aisle. Check me out.
On your healthy tip.
Say hi. That's my little healthy tip. I know. Some days I eat Pop-Tarts and then other days I eat Brussels sprouts, you know. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep people on their toes. You gotta keep your stomach on its toes, right? So
there you go.
Check us out.
Actually, I don't know about that, man. That's the way you end up on the toilet. Like you can't just be consuming anything randomly. Like your stomach has to kind of be acquainted with it, right?
You gotta let your stomach know who's the man. I'm the boss. You eat what I give you.
Yeah. I like that. That's how I
suffer
live too. So
yeah. All right, man. Listen, I respect that, man. So with that being said, we have a jam-packed show for you guys. There's a couple different, I think, burning topics that we're going to get to. You know, will dance music, house music, EDM music. And by the way, there's a lot of people who actually don't know the difference between all of those. And maybe Camryn, you do. Somebody needs to enlighten me because I've heard dance, I've heard house, EDM.
yeah.
There's a lot of similarities between the two, but they are also distinct. But the point is, will that become a staple in, I would say, the culture among hip hop, you know, fans and what's happening in the world? Because we've seen Drake drop an entire house-inspired album, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
We saw Beyonce drop a single that was sort of in that direction as well. You can kind of get the impression that may be where we're going, but we're gonna have a full-blown convo on that later. Also, I'm sorry, you know, we've seen also like Tyga, for example, drop a new song, and really over the years, we've seen how he's sort of been dabbling in, you know, showing different images in terms of like Hispanic and the Latinos and, you know, showing different things. But the question we have for you guys is hip hop allowed to appropriate culture and other people's culture? And ultimately, there may be different sides where you fall on that. But we're going to have a full-blown convo about that as well. Mm-hmm. But first, we want to talk about Chris Brown because we've seen a lot over the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. Probably more so than we've seen from Chris Brown in the last few years, right? If you guys don't know, have been living under a rock, Chris Brown just dropped a new album called Breezy. And I've heard it. I know you, Camryn, have heard it. I know QD, you've heard it. We've all heard the album, and we all feel some type of way, one way or the other, about the album. But at the end of the day, let's start. I think a good thing we can do is let's start with our initial take on his album, and then we can kind of get into Chris Brown's career trajectory. And also, I have a question for you guys that I want to end with, which is Chris Brown responsible for the direction that male R&B has gone in, or has kind of taken a turn, if you will? Everybody's complaining these days about male R&B, and I'm included in that.
Yeah.
Everybody says, yo, the women are killing it. Yo, the women are they're leading the charge in R&B. It's so true, though, right? But why is that, though? And we need to really talk a little bit about this. So I'm gonna kick this to maybe you, Camryn, since you're our special guest.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts on the album, the Breezy album?
Yeah. So I did a review of it, and honestly, I liked it. You know, I feel like sometimes being overly critical, trying to find something that you don't like. There was nothing that I didn't like. However, I think most of us can say this, that it was long. It was shorter than his other ones, but it was long. And I think the art of album making, there's something special in song selection and sequence. And I think when you make it too long, it slashes the magic. You know what I mean? So I think that was one thing. It made it kind of a hard listen, like, throughout. But I liked it. I think that he did play around with some different sounds. I think he started to bring back some of those R&B sounds that a lot of people have been wanting from him, like Harder and Sleep at Night. Those were like two of my favorites because it was reminiscent of something a little more soulful that he used to do. But also, this is something I have to say, I think some of the music gets a little redundant. And I think it's the same trap beats, or he'll be going somewhere, like Passing Time, for example, was one song. If you listen to the album, you know what I'm talking about. It started with this lovely, like, 80s dramatic moment, and then a beat comes in, and it just didn't make sense. And there were a few songs like that I really wish, like, you could have been a lot more experimental with it. And that would be, like, my only issues with the album, is there could have been some more experimenting with instrumentation on more of the songs. But otherwise, I liked it. I gave it like an 8 out of 10, I think, a 7.5 out of 10. But that's my thoughts. So
That's fair. That's fair, man. Look, Q, I know you probably were a little bit more harsh, man. Like, what did you think of the album?
I thought that was great thoughts, actually. That was,
really
Camryn
well said.
Really,
thank you. Yeah.
Pretty much put it in a nutshell what the album was. I mean, it's interesting because I agree with you, Camryn, but then at the same time, he did do a lot of experimenting on the album. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, I felt like he brought back his bad boy Chris Brown. Like, there's some songs that reminded me of the Wrigley gum. Remember that Wrigley gum commercial he had? There was like some songs that reminded me of that. Then he brought out his hip hop, raw hip hop game. He has a song with Lil Durk where I thought that was just a hip hop banger.
That was the first
and then he has his R&B warm embrace song. So it was very versatile, but I think if there was only one thing about the album that I didn't love was that it was kind of all over the place. It wasn't as consistent as I wanted it to be. And like you mentioned, Camryn, if it was shorter, if he just picked like maybe 15 or 16 of the best songs and then, just let it run through, I think it would be a lot better. It would be because, in this day and age, albums aren't just about how good a song is. It's about the listening experience. Yeah. And when you haven't come out in a while, because this is his first album in a couple years, people want to enjoy the listening experience.
Right.
And to me, it was just kind of all over the place a little bit, and then it was too long. So, but all in all, I mean, here's the thing that I always admire about Chris Brown. He's going to put up a great performance regardless. Chris Brown can feature on anybody's song, and he puts up a performance of the ages. Like he tries, like he cares about his craft. And I think every single song on this album, you get A+ effort from him. So that's something that I thought was pretty dope. Even the album that he did before with like 100 songs. The reason it was listenable, because he put up like A+ performances.
I mean,
but
I like some of the songs for sure. But,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo, if we're being honest about that song if that album had 100 songs, which I know you're estimating and guesstimating, at least
I'm rounding up.
You rounding up, right? At least 85% of them were hits.
Yeah, they
Seriously.
were. Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like bona fide. Like if you listen to them songs on their own, you're like, whoa, what
That's
is going
insane.
on right now? That's insane.
Devil's advocate though, like how do you expect people to get to those songs, right? Like if they don't even want to listen, because I've seen so many people be like, I like his music, but I just can't get into a 45 song album, you know?
Right. You know what's interesting about Chris Brown? By the way, you guys both like completely broke down that album. Like I have the hard task of now finding something new to say. Like y'all broke the album down. Like overall, I'm gonna say I enjoyed the album. I did. But I see the criticism that a lot of people are saying about Chris Brown. And I also see the praise people are giving too. There's two things I want to bring up though. One is, the reception of his music, right? Especially this time around. It was reported first week sales, because, a lot of people care about that these days. He only sold about like 70 to 80,000 units, if you will, first week, which seems like a ridiculously low number for a person in Chris Brown who we regard as a legend at this point, right? But then to also, in the same breath, same genre, if you will, bring up other people like Brent Faiyaz, right? Who also makes, he makes different music, if you will, but they're both still in the R&B genre. Him selling over 100K, and it's like, I know how this works, right? People see numbers
over 100K.
Yeah,
105 to 115 or whatever it is. Like, it's surprising, right? You look at the reaction, right? And so my question for you guys is, what is the discrepancy? Like, what is Chris Brown lacking these days that is not making people want to pay attention to his music so much? Because you guys touched on the music side of it all, right? Maybe it's his music's not connecting. Maybe it's he's kind of expired from the popular lens. Is there more to it than that? What do you guys think?
I think in a way, I think you guys have heard of the term like oversaturation a little bit, right? Like I think of a legend like Michael Jackson, huge Michael Jackson fan. His albums, like he has a lot of songs, but they were like 9-track albums, short, sweet, but everything was so intentional. And I think he's very intentional. I think Chris Brown's intentional when he makes his music, don't get me wrong. But the perception is it's just kind of like a free-for-all. Like it's almost like just too much. And when somebody's always, it just becomes oversaturated to the point where I think people are like, well, I'm not even going to bother, right? Because this is a task. This is a lot. And then a lot of people complain like he has such a huge discography. And I don't think it's always fair, but people are like, all of his music sounds the exact same. I don't think that's always fair. But from a perception of someone who can't even like keep their attention on his music, I could see how somebody could think that. Like you hear a few songs and you're like, this sounds the same. Like when he came out with Loyal, right? I feel like that was a turning point. Loyal, everybody was like, okay, after that point, everyone's like, everything sounds the same since Loyal. And that's, some people feel like that. And I just think it's a matter of oversaturation. I don't know, but it also is hard to be in the industry this long. I don't know. I think people are kind of hard on him. Like, you try being in the music industry for how many years now?
16 years. How long has it been? 16 since he dropped his debut?
Yeah,
2005, if I'm not mistaken. So almost 17 years, actually.
So that's where I
mean,
also... No, you go.
I mean, if you think about it, I think there's three things, to be honest with you. Three things. I definitely agree with everything Camryn's saying, but I'm going to add three more. Number one, I think he suffers from the I'll get to it later, category. Where, when you see Brent Faiyaz's album dropped, you're like, oh, I want to listen to it. Like I'm curious to know what's on that album and what he's able to do.
Right.
When you saw that Chris Brown drop, you're like, I'll get to it. I know it's gonna be like 40 songs. When I got a chance to sit down and like listen to it, I'll listen to it.
Right.
So it might have a longer, it might have some longevity. There might be some singles he's able to drop to make it, people think about the album a little longer. But I do think he suffers from that, and that's something that a lot of people actually suffer from. I'll get to it later syndrome. Second thing to me is his rollout game was pretty weak. Let's be real. His rollout game was kind of weak. I think Chris Brown comes from the era of you got to drop singles. You got to get people excited for the album. And I think We was his first single or one of the
Warm
first
Embrace,
singles. Yeah, then think about what was the singles from the album.
I think he dropped. I think
like
if I'm not mistaken,
to get people hyped for it.
Yeah,
I believe he dropped
Iffy.
Warm Embrace and Sleep at Night. Oh, Iffy.
Iffy.
I remember Iffy,
Iffy.
being a
And,
thing.
do
And
you
I didn't
remember
like the
Iffy?
song. I don't like the song.
You
Still don't like it.
I kind of like it.
Nah.
If cool. If he's cool.
Cool.
It's not a good. It's not like a. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, man. I'm sorry.
But,
Were you done?
let me say
Were
this.
you
I was
done?
gonna say
Go
one
ahead.
more.
Get
The
to
last
it,
thing
man.
I
Get
think
to
he
it.
suffers. Last thing I think he suffers from is really. It just shows the importance of the media being on your side. Like we may not see it every day. How much publications matter for an artist to do well. How much people talking about them matter. Like the fact that publications wouldn't touch him, like some of the major ones, that probably completely shunned off the people that listen to music just because a publication told them to.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a good chunk of people that listen to music just because of that.
Yeah.
I think Brent Faiyaz is one. Because think about Brent Faiyaz. I got an alert on my iPhone that said Brent Faiyaz dropped an album today. You know what I mean? That means Apple had his backing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part.
You make some important. Both of you guys make some important points. I think especially that last one about like the media being a thing. That's a very important point. But that also ties into narratives that get placed on Chris Brown, right? So for example, even when we talk about the narrative existing where people say, man, all of his music sounds the same, that comes from a place. And I don't think it's like a malicious place. That's a real feeling that people have about Chris Brown's music that I think gives people the reasoning to say, I'll get to it later, to Q's point, right? You're not giving people enough of a reason to really get excited about your music. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like I heard Iffy, people are like, oh, Chris Brown's coming back out. Here's his new single, Iffy. I'm 20 seconds into the song and I'm like, yo, this is not it.
Yeah.
This is not it. This is not like, and again, you can never accuse, and this is the problem with Chris Brown. It's not, I'm using problem loosely.
Yeah.
You can never say Chris Brown doesn't try. Like you said, his performances are always top notch. The vocals are crisp. The melodies are there. So it's like he checks off all of the boxes that we would normally criticize another artist on.
Right.
We would normally say, hey, I don't like Kodak Black because look at his voice. He's not clear. Look at his, like, he's mumbling in that part. Nope, I don't want to listen. And for most people, that's a good enough reason to not listen to an artist. But for Chris Brown, it's like you got to dig a little deeper as to why you don't want to listen.
Chris Brown has to hit home runs.
Yeah.
He does.
Like, that's the only way people will be satisfied.
But in a fair way, I think, we always say this about people. Like, when you become great, now we measure you against yourself. Like,
exactly.
It's like you can't really say, damn, Chris Brown is not better than, you can't really compare Chris Brown to people. It's like, well, Chris Brown, you're not making music that's good enough, that's interesting enough, I should say, to make people want to care. And I have a question for you guys, like, honestly, because I've actually asked myself this after listen to the new album. He gives us many different looks. He gave us drill Chris Brown now, which I think is a dope song with him and Fabio Foreign. I really like that song. He gave us Warm Embrace. He gave us the baby making music, right? He gives us he slows it down, right? He gives us the Iffy and he gives us everything. What do y'all want from Chris Brown musically? That is the major question I can't really get a consensus on, because I'm hearing people say, I want him to work with one producer. He needs to have a consistent sound that's more R&B-esque and get back to his roots, which I also feel. But I want y'all to kind of answer that. Like, what if you had to think of one sound that you believe works for Chris Brown that you think you would want to hear and the people would want to hear? What would you actually say that is?
Well, here's one theory I have, right? I think there's some of us who like really grew up with him like when he first started, and there was like this magic around his music, right? And then people started like hopping on the bandwagon, right? And started liking him later on. For me, and you just mentioned it, people say they want to hear that older essence. I really like him in R&B. I don't know. I think for me, that's kind of what would do it. Because if you saw my review, when Harder came on and when Sleep at Night came on, like that was some good ass music. Like to me, I was going crazy. So for me, I feel like that's what like the people who really have been here, here since day one. Those are the people who are going to ride for you, by the way. Like those are the people who are your audience, right? Because they stuck with you. I think there's a lot of us who really do like him, but we miss that. And those were some of the first songs in a while. Because you guys mentioned Warm Embrace. This is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like the song. I don't.
It's a little cheesy. It's a little cheesy.
But a lot of people like it because the R&B feel. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I'm sorry. I got to throw this in there. My favorite R&B song from that album is easily Dream. I love the song.
I like that one too.
Like, that song is incredible.
I like that one.
It's an incredible record.
So for me, if you're asking my opinion, right? I'm just saying, it's that like that R&B sound, like when he was in This Christmas, and he was singing his little butt off. Like I like that Chris Brown, like there's just something really raw about it. The substance, the subject matter. Like I mentioned this as well, and call me a prude. I don't know. People didn't like that I said this. But some of the subject matter was like the sexual tone. Like sometimes it didn't match the context or like the production of the music or the feel of the music. And it felt like just filler words. Like Iffy is a song kind of like that too. It's just a bunch of filler.
Filler words.
Right? Like what are we
He's just saying stuff. Exactly.
What are we talking about? And I think that's one other thing too that people want a little bit. Because it's like, okay, we're just changing the beat. We're talking about the same thing. Or we're doing this, right? So those are like the two things I guess, if that makes any sense, that would really shape up for me what a lot of people are missing from him.
Wow.
That makes perfect sense.
No, I'm following. I'm completely following.
That makes sense.
For me, it makes perfect sense. I mean, for me, like you mentioned earlier, Uch, Chris Brown's a legend, right? Some of the legendary artists that we've seen has evolved, right? And some of them have made bodies of work where they really opened up or got experimental or something like that. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Tory Lanez, he did his old, the whole incident with Megan Thee Stallion and all of that. We get it. But he dropped that body of work, right? Where he was getting deep, personal. He was in terms of like, this is the kind of person I am. He got, he really let you know what was going on in his head and in his mind, all that stuff. So it was a really touching body of work where somebody can try to look and say, oh, like I can either relate or I kind of understand, you got demons to battle. I think Chris Brown with this album just kind of pushed aside the obvious that like he doesn't necessarily tackle what we want him to tackle, because we want him to talk about his personal experiences. Right. You know what I mean? Like when Justin Bieber, he made that song about fame, and like how much he, it bothers him, how emotional he gets about it. Like those are the kind of things people want to hear more of because it unmasks the artist. I feel like Chris Brown has yet to be unmasked yet. And it's not going to be him doing it on an interview. It's not going to be him going on social media. I think it's going to be him dedicating a full album
to that,
to just letting the people know where you are emotionally.
That's a very, very interesting
I want to hear that.
Yeah, and I think that would be dope.
After he does that, then he can go back to
what-
making breezes.
Right.
You
Well,
know what I mean?
I want to throw this in there, man, because and then maybe we can move on to the next subject or next topic rather. But like, you know, I really feel like that album he did with Tyga, who we're probably gonna talk a little bit about later, the Fan of a Fan. The first album they did a collab on, like that was a very important album, and I say that because that was like the first time, in my personal opinion, I felt, you know, somebody at the height of R&B was dabbling in another genre, hip hop, and blending the two to where like it made people uncomfortable. Like Chris Brown was rapping on the album. He was doing things that traditionally wouldn't necessarily be associated with an R&B singer, somebody doing ballads and love songs and whatnot. And I do feel like around that time, he created a brand for himself that kind of went away from this Christmas, the Wrigley gum dude. Like the tattoos started coming around. The content became more aggressive. You know, he became more of a rapper from a persona standpoint than what you would traditionally attribute to like a singer.
Right.
And I think that he's been more of a pioneer in that aspect. We've seen like the more gangster driven, street driven artists, August Alsina's, the people who've come down the pike, you know, the Jacquees, there's been a lot of people, to be quite honest with you. And Ty Dolla $ign, there's a lot of folks who've kind of taken that model and taken that more street element to R&B. And I think that from when the men are concerned, I think that's where people are really coming from when they say, man, we want the feeling back, because they're not really hitting on those topics that I think, Q, you're talking about, where it's like, let's get down to really who you are, unmask yourself.
Yeah.
They're taking more of a hands-off approach where it's like, I don't really want you to come too close. I don't really want you to know really what I'm going through. So I'm going to give you these surface level bars, this surface level songwriting, and I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing. You know, Chris Brown was probably one of the first people in R&B doing that.
Yeah.
And I really think that, you know, that may be a cause to where R&B is today.
Yeah, because you got.
But he can also change it. He can change it if he goes back to doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
He can.
I think a lot of us, like, our points kind of intersect. Like, we're really talking about that subject matter. I think that's something that we all talked about. And R&B, people are talking about the state of it right now, but R&B is very vulnerable, right? Like, it's emotional.
Right.
And when it starts becoming like too cool, like we think of hip hop. Yeah, there's like definitely different genres of hip hop or different types that touch on different things. But the era of hip hop we're in right now, it's like a lot of flexing. It's kind of surface. It's okay, I'm cool, right? Because hip hop culture is popular culture right now. R&B though, like at its essence and at its core, has always just been very raw, emotional, vulnerable. And a lot of the guys just aren't going there. You know what I mean? Like, they're not doing it. Like, the girls, though, Summer Walker, like, people like that, they're, like,
oh, they get to it. They get to it.
They get to it. And I don't know what
they get to it.
Like, I don't even know if that's a bigger conversation of, like, how men see themselves and how they feel like they have to be right now. Like, just in the context of today. And that's a whole different conversation. But I think we're missing that. And I think that's a huge part of there's a disconnect. I don't know. It's a disconnect.
Look, where did the romance go? I think that's the thing.
It went to Afropop.
I always say this joke, but like, well, not, it's to myself. I'm like, I don't think people realize, like, when you listen to Afro beats, and a lot of these dudes, whether it's the Wiz Kids, the Burna Boys, the Oh My Lady, go down the list, Davido, all of them, right?
Yeah.
You may or may not actually know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, based on accent and dialect and all that other stuff. But, like, when you really get down to what they're talking about, they really romancing these women. They may still be a player, like these rappers personifying and stuff, but they really be like on some, yo, I want to come to your parents' house. I want to lay the red carpet. Like, they really are doing, that's the energy that they give off in most of these songs.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's lacking in R&B, to be honest with you.
Listen to what Davido said.
100%.
Listen to what Davido said. He said, money fall on you. Banana fall on you. Like, that's romantic because I'm in love with you.
Are you kidding me?
Underestimate either, like, how women view your music as well. Like, if women like it, because guys like to impress girls, right? So if
Right,
women
right.
like it and they're feeling it, and if you're singing to the ladies like in a way that's soft and seductive, like I think it's cool to like have those types of songs. But I made that comment about like even if the album did get sexual, sometimes it was just so like, it was just so like I don't even know the word for it. It's kind of
Authentic.
aggressive, like a little aggressive. Like it's
Oh,
just
aggressive.
kind of like I like something. Sometimes you want something that's a little soft.
Yeah.
Like Dream. Dream was one of those songs that was beautiful, right?
Dream was incredible
It
because
was
of that.
incredible
Yeah.
because of it, and it wasn't just like the production and like it was the lyricism too. So I think that's neglected a lot. And Chris is like that suave boy, like I understand his brand, like I get it, right?
Right.
But I think the romance, that's a part of that is lacking in the vulnerability. So
Well, the thing is, I think, which, you guys make great points. I think right now, all the R&B singers, so-called R&B singers, they have the approach of a background singer, right?
Ooh.
Like Ty Dolla $ign in the 90s is just a background singer Puff Daddy would add to a Mace song. You know what I mean? Like every major label or major like crew, like Cash Money, No Limit, Bad Boy, they had their little background singer. Jay-Z, Rel, remember Rel?
Right,
Jay-Z
right.
had Rel. No Limit had Moby Dick. Pause. And then Cash Money. Cash Money had all them random singers. Remember? So I think that's the approach that these R&B singers. Maybe some of them started in the background, like Jeremiah. Jeremiah does a lot of background work, but
Yep.
I think what it is R&B male singers have to be more intentional with realizing who their fan base is. It seems like they're making R&B songs for men, for us. Like we don't need the R&B song.
There you go.
It's like they're telling us, "Yo, I got a girl and I'm doing this." Yeah, that's if you're talking to your guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be more intentional about catering to the women.
Right.
And so,
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think I do think that for example, and then I do think we should move to the next topic. Like somebody like Trey Songz, he always did a good job at that. Like he always kind of did a good job at like staying authentic to, and maybe you could argue he kind of strayed away from it, but like he didn't go too far, right? He started out with his debut, Just Gotta Make It, super vulnerable, emotional. Then he kind of kept the R&B spirit where he talked about that romance aspect throughout his music. Now he did go pop. Remember, bottoms up. Like I get it. That all that happened, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like I did think he did a good job at like keeping the essence of R&B there while still attracting the women who ultimately are the ones that I think he's speaking to in the music. Let's just keep it a buck. Like
let me put it
that's
this
who he's
way.
talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But Trey Songz turned out to be a weirdo.
Listen, if those reports are true,
That's God's
Hey,
weird.
my guy.
So I think they might be true, but yeah, that aside.
So I mean, where there's
hey, look,
but,
allegedly, man.
yeah,
Look,
weird.
if they're true, get them out of here, man.
We don't
Get
need
'em
that
out.
type of R&B. Don't bring that type of R&B back. Next topic. Will dance/house music become a trend in 2022? As you guys know, Drake came out with an album which I thought had a fire title. Honestly, never mind. Oh, that's so gangster.
Fire.
And I thought it was gangster. It was honestly never mind. And I'm like, we about to have all these hard ass hip hop joints, maybe some drill, maybe some.
Bro,
Every single song is gonna feature 21 Savage and all that.
did you
He's
see the
mad.
Did you see the track list
Yeah.
before it dropped? I was like, oh my god,
This is hard.
Text
Yeah.
go green. Oh my
Text
god,
go. Oh,
he's about to give it up.
He's about to destroy Android users. But then I pressed play, and I was like, yo, what?
What is this? Yeah.
Oh, why did you leave me? Do-do-do. What did I just listen? I thought I pressed play on the wrong album. I thought I pressed play on honestly, never mind the Skill Rex version or something like that. But then, Drake actually came out and said on Twitter, he said, y'all not going to get it right now. But I'm paraphrasing. Y'all not gonna understand it right now, but down the line you'll see what I was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
Then approximately about 2 weeks later, Beyonce dropped Break My Soul, and now it seems like we are in a dance era. First and foremost, do you guys like this dance, the potential of this dance era coming?
I do.
Hey, I love it. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how y'all didn't see this coming. The Dance Dance Revolution game has been in existence globally for over 10 years now. It's a bigger play. Drake, he made the album for those games, man. See, he made it for the kids.
Nah, we needed Drake to make it for Parappa the Rapper. Remember that game?
Parappa, see? That's going back.
We needed
That's going
Parappa
back.
the Rapper.
Going
I
back.
don't know nothing about that.
So yeah, that might be a little bit
Like
before
98,
before your time.
maybe.
I don't know.
99, so I wasn't there.
Oh yeah, it
No
was
way.
like 98. Ooch, remember that game?
I do.
Y X X X X Y X. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, all subject. No, but look, man. At the end of the day, I do feel like number one, if there's one person to be able to like take the direction of music, especially in America, to a different direction, it's Drake.
It's Drake.
You know, it's he's at the forefront. And I will say this about the album. Number one, look, I'm sure Drake saw everything people were saying. I saw everything people were saying. I hadn't even listened to the album and people were saying it was garbage.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I really got to go listen to this. I checked it out and I'm like, this is not what I expected, but it's decent. It's decent. I think that what it is people's expectation of Drake is one way. It's that he's going to croon over these soft beats occasionally. You know, he doesn't have the best voice, but his melodies are typically there. We rock with him. But we also like when Drake gets into his rapping bag, whether it's he's 9 a.m. somewhere around the world, or he's giving you just the swag bars that he typically gives us over the years. I think people have gotten used to that Drake, and people have gotten comfortable with that Drake. Right. So when that happens, that's all we expect. But with that being said, we forget that Drake has given us other vibes over the years.
He has.
If you guys remember More Life back in 2017, I believe. I mean, he has songs like Passion Fruit, right? Yes. There were songs that were a little bit more globally themed and more international sounding. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
People act like this came out of the blue. It didn't. Now, did we get a whole album?
No.
That came out of the blue? Of course. We didn't expect that, but at the end of the day, man, I think that this album is for the vibes. Like you really have to the setting of music is so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
It's so important.
That's how I feel about it. Yes, I think it's the setting, and I think it's a commentary on how music listeners are nowadays. You go to the club. I don't know if you noticed this, but everybody's just popping bottles and sitting on their ass because they want to look cool. Nobody wants to dance for real. And I'm talking about dancing, right? I'm not talking about people don't want to dance. And Cardi B said something about this. Like, she's trying to make music for the club, right? Because a lot of everything is very moody, and it's this and it's that, and everybody's doing this. Mm-hmm. I think it's about the setting. Like, of course, if you're laying in bed at 2 a.m. listening to this Drake album, are you really going to be feeling the vibes? Maybe not.
It's not going to hit.
It's not going to hit. But if you're in a club and you're coming out to dance, it's going to hit. So it's
not
about
even that.
I think
not even that. Give me some sunshine. Go outside for a change, guys. Let the sun hit you in the face.
Right.
And go hear that song, and you're by water or trees. I guarantee you the music sounds differently.
100%.
I can't.
I just think that people
it just reminds me of like cocaine bathrooms.
What, the song or the album?
The album just reminds me of cocaine bathrooms. I don't know, like people doing a line in a bathroom. Like, I don't know.
Oh, God.
You know how people doing a lot like. I don't know. I've never done cocaine a day in my life. I've never been in a bathroom with people doing cocaine. But what people say about it, where it's like they dance all night. Mm-hmm. They're not like people. I mean, those kind of people that do cocaine and stuff. they're not dancing to like hip hop music. They're dancing to that like high energy EDM house music.
Yo, 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 yo. Let's take a quick break from the show. Here's this episode's paid promoted snippet.
Pull up with the tank on me. Walk up in and say the drinks on me. And the drinks on me. Sipping liquor so I just won't leave. Cutting corners cause this life ain't cheap. No, this life ain't free. There's two sides to my brain and they full of different habits. The gunner side is there for when I feel like nothing matters. Fuck it, grab the bottle then chug it down to the bottom. Don't got a drinking problem. You bought the big one as a challenge. Like fuck it. Hit the club about 1,000 in your wallet. Walk up to the bar and pick a tab up like, hey, yo, I got it. When they overdo it, I'm acting stupid like who's the dude that told you all to do it? That wasn't me, now y'all looking foolish. Till I'm the truest when I'm back at the crib. I pop a little Lucy, yeah, you know we talking about shit. You know the kid, he love the feeling of vibing behind the wheel and barely steering. Before he drive his mother's car off a cliff, he might pull up with the tank on me. Walk up in and say the drinks on me. Yeah, the drinks on me. Sipping liquor so I just won't eat. Cutting corners cause this life ain't cheap. No, this life ain't free. The gas beside is what happened.
Hope you guys enjoyed that snippet. If you are an artist looking for promotion or more exposure for your music, make sure you hit our email, illadvisedwiseguys@gmail.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah. It's like
That's what that kind of reminded me of.
Yeah.
So,
and
but I'll say this though, man. Like that, while that can remind you of cocaine music, which when you kind of said that, it made me think of Yo Gotti because he says that a lot. But anyway, I think that is an insult to the genre. To be honest with you, it's that like you're minimizing the actual musicality of it. I think, in my opinion, because there's a lot of people who are just naturally not fans of that style, that genre, right? It's the same way there's some people out there who don't like hip hop. And who are like, they may not appreciate what the artist like Kendrick Lamar is trying to do, right? So there is some craftsmanship in that genre.
Of course.
That I think needs to be highlighted.
But
like
there's I don't know, there's something about somebody emotionally singing over like house beats that just sounds, you know what I mean? Awkward.
Yeah. Like you could,
Like think about
I know what you mean.
Pharrell dropped everybody doing lines in the bathroom. You see how frantic the song is? Mm-hmm. And like Pharrell's singing like pretty, calmly.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that sound to me that just brings up wild party cocaine.
Yeah, vibes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird.
I get you.
It's
what's
weird.
What's up with you and cocaine, bro? Like, you can pick another drug, You do know that, like, I'm pretty sure people on other drugs other than cocaine listen to that.
Shoot. But I think
mushrooms, frog back. What you want me to say?
Molly, Percocets.
Yeah. No, I think like. And maybe it's like Drake's version. You bring up a good point about like the subject matter, like what it makes sense. Because when Beyonce came out with Break My Soul, hers was very like liberating, and it was very like fun, and it was empowering. And I think maybe that made more of a match with what people think of with house. You think of house music, and you think of like the LGBTQ community, right? Like that music, like going to shows and like walking, and their whole culture when it comes to that is rooted in joy and empowerment. When you see like that resurgence of, or I don't know the origins of house music, I'm not gonna lie, but when I link it to like social context and things like that, I think that makes the most sense. And I think that's really why I liked Beyonce's version a lot too. But there is an extensive history. There's a lot of artists who have been doing house music. So I say before it becomes super trendy, I think that people should really try to also seek out some of those other artists, not just these mainstreams, because some people might feel like Drake's interpretation was a cheap interpretation. I've heard that too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people have
we've heard people say that about Drake doing Afro beats. Like, oh, look at him. Like, he's appropriating Afro beats. It's cheesy.
Yeah.
We've heard people say all types of stuff. And a lot of that they may not be lying too, but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, maybe before people fully judge it, like, if you're interested in it to an extent, like, try to take your time to, like, seek out what people are doing in the community, because some people feel like it is a cheap version, and some people felt that way about Beyonce's, too. Like, it's not just a Drake thing, but I think that it's bringing back like that fun. And again, I'm a dancer, so I love dancing when I go out. So I love it. I like it. And I also listen to a lot of different kinds of music. You'd be lying. A lot of these people who say they don't like it literally just listen to the same thing day in, day out.
There you go.
There's no variety.
That's where I'm coming from.
So they're not going to get it. Like, they're just not, because all they listen to is the same old, same old. So I think it's exciting to see what's going to happen. Do I think it's going to be a trend? I think so, because of the people who started to usher in the sound again, like on a mainstream level. Drake and Beyonce are just naturally influential. So I think naturally people are going to do it.
I gotta also say this, man, because Q, real quick.
Go ahead.
Just the fact that we're on Drake, we're talking about him. Let's not forget that Drake, you know, again, he's done different sounds like throughout his career.
Yes.
He also has collaborated with artists globally and kind of brought those sounds into this country. Like, I give you an example. Like, WizKid was popping for years around the world. Globally, around the world. He was an icon already in West Africa, Africa as a whole, before collaborating with Drake on Come Closer. We forget that was like, what, 2015, 2016? That there's no coincidence that at that time, that was when the Afrobeats wave started making its way into America full steam.
Yeah.
Like, when Drake got involved. So let's not like underestimate Drake's even ability to like usher in new sounds into the landscape of like American
Popularity.
culture, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Very true.
Let's remember Drake is also Canadian.
let's remember that as well.
I'm
That
just
should
joking.
never be forgotten.
So this ain't our problem. This is, well, I guess it's NATO. It's NATO's problem.
Yo, anybody ever asked how do Canadians feel about this?
Right. We don't even talk about them in this conversation. It's like Drake is one of yours. Like, we're playing the conversation.
What does man from Mans and them from Toronto feel about Drake getting all this American love? What do they feel, man?
But you know, to kind of directly answer my own question, I guess. How do I feel?
Yeah.
We got to remember that, you know, trends also come with the good and the bad. So for every Beyonce, you know, who knows? Lil Yachty might start experimenting with dance. You know what I mean? Dead ass. Like, for instance, remember T-Pain had auto-tune.
Yeah.
And T-Pain was one of the first people. T-Pain was one of the first people to do auto-tune since the Computer Love. Remember Computer Love?
Oh, yeah.
Roger, God, Roger Troutman, I want to say his name is.
Roger Troutman.
Yeah, Roger Troutman, right? So T-Pain reintroduced auto-tune to the world. After T-Pain, remember there was Ron Browse, then there was Kanye.
Oh my God.
Then Kanye started messing with it. Then everybody started using auto-tune.
Pop
So,
champagne.
you know,
we gonna pop champagne.
remember Ron? You know, so auto-tune went away. Jay-Z killed it. All we need is Jay-Z to kill it again, and then it'll stop, right? Jay-Z, you know, dance music. Y'all can do the dance music. I'm in LA with a Bel Air bottle. Like, you know, Jay-Z gonna kill it, but
Yeah.
dance is also gonna come with those people trying to experiment. So you might see Lil Uzi Vert trying to do dance. So I'm scared from that sense. What kind of music is gonna come out of it? Beyonce is gonna do it because there's a word that I know Uch is probably tired of me using. It's called tasteful. I don't have a problem with you being anything unless you do it tastefully. I thought the way Beyonce did it was tastefully. The way that Lizzo does, you know, because Lizzo has some kind of like up-tempo dance music on her album. She does it tastefully.
Yeah.
I cannot say Drake did dance music tastefully on that album. You know what I mean? It kind of seemed gimmicky. Kind of seemed a little rushed.
People have said that too.
Not tasteful.
You know, I see. The reason why I don't like the word tasteful is because who judges the taste of something, right? But that's a side point. The better word I feel like is, does it sound organic? Meaning, when you hear it, does it sound like that person fit on the song, and you don't think to yourself, why is this person doing this? When you don't ask those questions, then I think they did it, in your words, tastefully, or it was organically done. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if that's what you mean by tasteful, I 100% agree with you. Like, if you're saying something else, then I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if I'm
essentially,
rolling.
if it feels right, if it sounds right, because like I said, now that they've done it, best believe in the next couple of months, there's going to be other people that are going to try to emulate that sound.
Oh, it's
and
coming.
I guarantee you, it's not going to be done tastefully. Like, you might hear Chief Keef try it. Bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang,
You
bang, 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 bang.
Hey, bro.
Like something crazy.
Brother,
You
if I hear, this is when I don't know it's gone too far. No, seriously. I mean this respectfully. If you start hearing these street rappers rapping over dance beats like Moneybagg Yo, Black Youngster, ESTG, if I start hearing them do it, I know this thing is on its way around the world. Like, at that point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they'll do a great job at it, but I'm saying that's how you know Drake's impact is really next level.
And it's going to happen. It's
It
going
will.
to happen.
It will.
I heard 21 Savage on a dance track the other day, so it's going to happen.
I could see Lil
Absolutely.
Uzi doing it too. You just
Absolutely.
mentioned him. I could see him trying to do it. So
I can
I can see
doing it
Uzi
too.
doing a good job at it too.
Lil
Not a
Yachty
bad job. I
has
can see him doing a really good job.
Yeah, Lil Yachty has a song with, I think it's Tame Impala, and it's called like Breathe a Little Deeper. You guys should listen to it. That has like a different like psychedelic feel to it. That's kind of cool. It actually sounded kind of good. So check that out. But we might be surprised, but I think that we will see. I don't know if it's going to be like super trendy, because I think house is a very like tough one to like hit it on the head though. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's tough, especially not knowing like the components of really what goes into house, or like historically, like it's a very like specific or different kind of genre. I feel like you should study it, or like what you're doing if you do.
I know.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's where I think
it's
getting into the
it's like
and the tastefulness, like you guys mentioned. So
Yep.
yeah.
It's hard for me to even really speak on it without knowing the real history. That's why, I joke, but I'm half joked. I'm being dead serious. Like, I really don't know the difference between house, EDM, dubstep. Like, can someone explain this to techno? I need a full blown masterclass. Somebody to break this down for me once and for all.
I do too. Because
You know what the problem is?
it's like a driving beat or something that makes it very similar. I don't know.
Right.
You know what the problem is here? This is the main reason I'm scared.
Uh-oh.
Like, when somebody tries to, take hip hop or, make a hip hop song and they're not a hip hop artist, you have an artist to point to and say, this is real hip hop right here. If you like them doing hip hop, you should listen to Jay-Z or something. If somebody tries to do R&B, here's a real R&B artist, et cetera, et cetera. What's house? I feel like house is the gatekeepers of house are computers. Like you got it, like a computer. Like I feel like MacBook Air is a real hip hop. Is the real house artist.
So this is why that's dangerous, right? Because you don't understand how disrespectful that comment is to the creator of house music.
Right. They're like, whoa,
anybody who follows it, they like, yo, see, this is what they don't respect the culture.
Hey,
they don't respect it.
I'm speaking the ill-advised wise guys, right? I mean, I'm speaking. That's really when it comes to my mind, because a good chunk of the times when I listen to house music, which is in a club or something, you don't really hear the artist, right? You just hear the beat. And for me, when I just hear an instrumental, sometimes I just associate it to a computer, like a machine, like a, oh, damn.
Elements, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not thinking of the artist.
Yeah. And actually, now that I think about it, I did take some like house dance classes. I told you guys. Don't ask. I just find myself in this situation. But this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And it's like a thing, like there's a certain way you can dance to house music. And like, I do think that house music is a black genre of music, if I am correct. And then there's a difference between EDM and techno, and I don't know the origins of those, but that could be a fundamental difference in how it goes. But again, like you said, like you think of a computer, it's like house is very distinct. It's different. Like you don't really know how to describe it or put it in like a package. But I do think it's important for people to like, if you're gonna make the music, like try to like listen to house music, like listen to like what makes a house song. I think Beyonce was using some people who are heavy in the house scene as well in her song, which was good, right? Because people from the community are like, thank you. And I know Azalea Banks, whatever the heck she was upset about, she had an issue with Beyonce doing it. But when is she not upset? But I'm not saying it's not.
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
It's never a black and white issue. It's not to say like Beyonce did it perfect or whatever. Like art is subjective. Everyone's gonna have their opinions, but I think if people do it organically or tastefully, whichever word you want to use, I think it's just paying respect. Like we say with hip hop, if you are an outsider and you're coming in, it's appreciative that you kind of like know what's going on in the history, and to an extent, right? I mean, music is music, but there's a respect.
Yo, that's actually a good segue potentially to the next topic. Real quick, I would be remiss to say, like, I don't know if house is a black genre, but I do know it's been ingratiated into the New Jersey scene, the Baltimore scene for years. Like, I know people who know that, like, actual culture and genre, they speak on it very highly. But y'all, we all should do our own research and get more of an understanding. Because I'm pretty sure you shouldn't think of computers when you hear house music. That's all that's all I'm saying.
It's called techno. What's techno? Technology.
Yeah.
EDM is probably an electronic device management or something. I don't know.
Electronic dance music. That's what house music.
Oh, electronic dance music.
EDM,
Okay,
yep.
thank you. Electronic dance music. So it's like everything has to do with computer.
And house might
like you.
What is house? House meter? What is house?
Sure, because when I took a class, I think they explained some of it. And I think it started with like house parties or something. Like I could be
that makes sense.
Are you kidding me?
But, like,
no, that makes
parties,
sense.
Like I think that's where it comes from. And I do think that it was created like a lot of genres by black people. But I need to do my research because I'm very interested in it. But I think that's where
let's all do our homework on that.
Yeah,
I mean, as a specifically can you report back to us, man?
Here's what I'm going to say.
You've been the most ill-advised on this topic.
You mean the most just say it. Just the most ignorant. Look.
Ignorant. Hey, cocaine.
I'm going to say the first time, I'll be real with you.
That's funny. Cocaine.
I'll be real with you.
Yeah, what's
I'll be real with you.
Yeah.
The first time I heard house music, this is probably before Camryn's time. The first time I heard house music, remember in Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, there was actually a section where you can play the music that was playing during the video games. Remember that?
Yep. You could change.
So
the
it'll be like the sound effects.
Yeah.
Majority of it sounded like house music today. Am I right? Ooch, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, look, but you know what's funny?
Think about like the music they played during Sonic the Hedgehog.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Like, think about how many beats you've heard over the last 5 to 10 years that make you think of video games.
Yeah,
like they have a video game sound effect. And so to your point, yes, that's been going on for a while now.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's been going on for a while now.
So don't be surprised if Drake's new song, Drake featuring Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
Yo, Drake
too. Subgenres of
imagine the beat being made on Super Nintendo.
PlayStation. Drake featuring PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
in my feelings.
That sounds like that low key. Like sometimes I listen to Lil Uzi's music and I feel like I'm in a video game. You know, or
I'm telling you,
exactly.
Yeah. No, I could see that for sure. And there's subgenres, like every genre, I'm sure. I don't know them, but there's definitely different types. So we got to do our research because I know somebody's going to be sitting at home like,
I know somebody's going to be like, I started it. Let me get the backlash. I started it. Super Nintendo drops a diss record on the ill-advised wise guys.
Right.
Yo, hey, with that being said, man, hey, let's move on to the next topic. And the last topic, this has been a really dope episode.
Yeah,
appreciate you for joining, Camryn.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So, does hip hop get a pass for appropriating other cultures? You know, more recently, I mean, there's so many examples to kind of pull from, but I guess we'll just use the more recent one that Q and I have been discussing, which is Tyga's new song called "Ay Caramba," right? Yeah, you got to come on. You got to say it like that because if you don't, it would be considered it'd be disrespectful. You can't just say "Ah caramba." Come on, like so.
You gotta roll your R's. You gotta roll your R's.
So with that being said, the music video, showed a lot of what I would call stereotypical sort of Hispanic imagery, right? That some may seem as disrespectful, insensitive, whatever you want to call it. That's probably the more recent example, but I think that the ultimate question is, do rappers, do people within the overall hip hop landscape get away with pulling that type of stuff off? Could that exist outside of hip hop, the actual genre? For example, if Tyga was a pop singer, could he get that off and not get ridiculed by the mainstream media, the E News, the nightly news and NBC and CNN? Could that happen? And so go for it. No. Go for it.
So here's the thing. If you guys look at like early 2000s music and like from white artists, for example, I don't know, like Gwen Stefani went through her like little cultural appropriation phase.
Whew.
And that's not really talked about.
Did.
Yeah, like, and I don't think anybody really like batted an eyelash at that point. I think it's crazy because, and this is, okay, but Black people, right? A lot of our culture gets stolen. A lot, right? And I don't think it's fair to do like a tit for tat. Like you do it to me so I can do it to you. But I think people are very like tough sometimes on Black people when they do it as well. Like other cultures will be like, how dare you? And it's like, but you guys have been like biting off what we have done since forever. However, with that all being said, fundamentally, no, I don't think that is cool to do that, right? Because we have a rich culture of our own. Like, let's not make a mockery. One person who did a great example, you know that song that's like, uno, dos, no tres, siete, hey, what's his name? But I feel like he did like a decent job. Like I watched the music video and he had his little like, cowboy hat on. It didn't feel like he was crossing this weird territory, right? I think Black people should be allowed to do certain things, right? Because we all like, the diaspora, there's Black Latinos, there's Black people who speak Spanish, there's Black people who are a part of that community. But when you start getting into certain stereotypes that are kind of offensive and borderline like a mockery, I don't think it's fair, even if it's in hip hop. I don't think it's cool, but that's just me.
Hey, look,
I love that.
Yeah.
I like the hard stance.
That's just
I like the hard stance. Q, what do you think? I mean, you agree or you disagree or what? How you feel?
100%. I mean, I think once it goes back to that tasteful, word that I like to use. If you do it tastefully, and if you incorporate, authentically incorporate the culture. Like for instance, Drake, right? Drake had a song where he was speaking in full Spanish, but he had Bad Bunny to back him up. Yeah. So it's like you didn't just randomly say, "Hey, I woke up this morning and I feel like appropriating the culture today." Any, mini, miny, mo. So I think that's where Tyga really fumbled the ball, where he just it just seemed like he just woke up and just decided to appropriate the Mexican culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this we actually created this topic because I got some backlash. I think I may have gotten canceled. So somebody called me out on my site because I posted the song. I didn't really touch on the appropriation part, but it was somebody from like the Latin community that really goes hard for their community. And he said that pretty much, that video was egregious to them, like to the Latin community. It was a stereotype. And like anybody who's promoting it or anybody who talks about it doesn't really cover that topic, didn't do their due diligence, So I think it's pretty dope, his approach. I thought he kind of misunderstood me a little bit, but no here nor there. But you know what's funny? I got into a long conversation with wifey, and we were talking about Black. There's a restaurant in DC where a black person is making Chinese food.
Oh boy.
And he kind of blackified it, right?
Oh boy.
And I was telling her, I said, yo, I don't know if I'm okay with that. And then she was like, but they appropriate our food all the time too. Like, do you know how much food, we make that like, but the thing about the black culture is some of the things that we've created are so ingrained in American culture. We don't even tie it to a certain race anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't tie it. It's just a part of who we are.
Yeah.
Like tacos. Tacos is just a part of the American culture. And, in this case, I think Tyga, there was a thin line. Like, maybe you dancing, maybe you saying some Spanish, words here and there. I think that's cool. But then when you start to like do those little stereotypes, like, whatever stereotype you want to associate, that's because majority of the time, the one thing, I know I'm yapping, but the one thing that always bothers me about races is that I feel like white people are the only ones that don't have negative stereotypes. Like when somebody says you're talking white, you know what that means? You're talking well-mannered.
Yeah.
Your grammar is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, that was very white of you. It's not always negative stereotypes. For Hispanic people, it's negative. It's like, you guys are, whatever, all the negative stereotypes they get.
Yeah.
Asian people is negative. It's like, you guys always doing this, whatever. Black people is always negative. So as long as it's not the negative stereotypes.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm not going to say I'm okay with it, but
to an extent,
you might get a pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a
get it.
thin line between paying homage and appropriating.
Actually, now that
I got.
Oh, I'm sorry. You go.
No. Go ahead. Go. You can respond.
No,
for
because
sure.
I was just thinking of how I would feel, which I'm not even understanding why I'm trying to imagine it, because it happens to us all the time. But I think if it's done, like, even if you're, like, to me, I'm like, don't you have your own culture, though, to, like, like, sometimes it's just like, why even touch it? And some people don't get it. Like, if you don't have a culture, like, you don't get what that feels like. Because I did a YouTube video where I was talking about appropriation and people were coming for me. They were like, music doesn't belong to black people. This doesn't belong to black people. Right? But I'm like, you guys are a little misinformed as well. I just feel like sometimes just messing with stereotypes, whether they're positive or negative. I think a lot of stereotypes, whether they're positive or negative, are harmful. Right? Because like Asians, we were talking about a good stereotype they have is they're smart. But for some people, and I've heard this from some Asians, they're like, I don't fall into that mold, so it negatively impacts me. I think stereotypes in general is something to like be very careful about, right? Because regardless, if you're not a part of that culture, it can be taken the wrong way. And it's almost kind of like, why are you in the conversation, right? Like you're not a part of this. So it's a fine line. I don't know. That's kind of
such
no,
a
it really
fine
is. It's such a fun. I mean, you guys bring up good examples. Like, I especially like the one about food because it's like, is there a license? Do you need to get like board certified to cook Chinese food? Like, and you're not Chinese? Like, is it somebody that's saying it's not okay, or is it the tastemakers the one saying that's not cool? Because I fall into it too. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I tell this with my wife all the time. I say, yo, I'm a little wary when I pull up in because I like to eat. I'm sure you guys do too. I eat a lot of different cuisines.
Yeah.
If I go to a sushi spot and I see a white dude preparing the sushi, like, it's not that I'm gonna think that the sushi's not good. It's just it's gonna stand out, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna question it just for a second, like, whoa, like what the hell, like what's he doing here?
Yeah.
Like, wait, why is he cutting the joint like he kind of know what he's doing? Like, does he really know what he's doing? I'm gonna ask so many questions as opposed to if I just saw somebody who's Japanese or just Asian in general, which is a whole nother subject, doing the exact same task, right? And so it's a fine line. I think at the end of the day, because I want to bring this back to music in a way, because I believe Tyga is mixed.
He is.
He's mixed. I think he's like he's like black,
Asian, like
Vietnamese.
Asian. Yeah, he is.
He's like Vietnam, like he. So, and he also grew up in that whole LA kind of scene where we know the cultures are blended. Whether or not we actually understand that or not, when you live across the globe,
that's very
you know, you may not know his history, right? You may not know how he grew up. Maybe his best homie is of that. Maybe he understands everything about the Latin community that, you know, your average person wouldn't know. Now, I'm saying, does that give him the right to perpetuate negative stereotypes? No, of course not. But does that mean that he didn't have people that were knowledgeable, maybe even including himself, being a part of the entire production? We don't know. These are the kind of questions that we kind of need to get down to the nitty gritty of. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, your average person is they're not aware of any of these answers. They're not aware of any of these details. All they end up seeing is the end result, and they judge how they may. You know, it reminds me of when Post Malone first came out, and he had Too Young was popping. That song Too Young. White Iverson was popping, you know. And Post Malone was knee deep into hip hop at that point. Whether or not we knew he was gonna make a complete flip and kind of pivot in an entire new direction musically, you couldn't tell me at that time that Post Malone was not a rapper and he wasn't a dude who was wearing braid. I never even questioned it. I actually thought he was mixed. I didn't even know he was white.
Yeah.
He had a song called White Iverson. I still didn't think he was white. That's just me. I was like, nah, he's probably mixed. Like, nah.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not convinced.
and so the fact that it was so organically and authentically done musically at the time, like I never questioned it. I never was like, damn, he's white, so like it don't sound good. No, it sounded great. He was killing everything he was doing, and it was a bit hurtful. I know for me, and I know for a lot of people, when Post Malone kind of came out and just sort of denounced hip hop and was like, "Don't call me a rapper," you know, I'm
an artist.
I'm an artist. Like, just dismissed it completely. Like he didn't just come up this entire time making hip hop music. I think we let a lot of artists get a pass with that type of stuff. They appropriate the culture, they disregard it when they're done using it.
They toss it.
You know what I'm saying? And we kind of need to stop letting people get away with that. But at the same time, how can you really stop it?
Yeah, that's true.
Because at the end of the day, the music is for everybody, right? If somebody stopped Eminem back in the day and said, yo, you can't make hip hop music, you're white.
Yeah.
We would have never got Eminem. We would never got the talent. People, if he let the negative stereotypes or the negativity that came along with what was generally associated with black people stop him, we would have never got all of these albums and the inspiration that people look at Marshall Mathers and Eminem as. So it's a fine line. It's a touchy subject, but I think at the end of the day, I'm seeing a lot of parallels in consistent remarks of what we're talking about. Like Q, you're using the word tasteful. I'm saying authentic. You know, I don't know if you had a buzzword, Camryn, or not, but like we're all kind of saying the same thing. Like when it's done right, and you don't question the authenticity of it, we all let it slide. But the minute we question the authenticity of it and say, like, wait, why did they do that? Like they didn't cross their T's and dot their I's. I think that's when people start asking questions, and they have a right to ask questions at the same time.
Would you argue, because I know we talk about like black music and stuff like that, would you argue that we should definitely be gatekeeping a lot more, because we are automatically met with music's for everybody? Right, but when something happens to another community, they don't play. Right, they like get this guy out of here. If it's another black person, they're like, oh, we don't play about that. But with us, it's like we kind of get mad for a little bit, and then everybody tells us to get over it, and it's just music. But I don't know. It's a tricky situation.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That might be a combo for another pod.
Yeah,
we might need to talk offline. Like I got so many thoughts on that. It's really annoying to me. I'll say how our community we don't have a united front. We don't have a united front. We let people come through, take what they want, pillage, go off and about, and we watch them while it's happening, and we just sit by and stop it. Sit by and don't stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the whole Gucci scandal that happened in the last couple of years with the whole clothing, and black people got outraged for 2 seconds.
And then went
We
right.
said we're gonna stop buying Gucci. The people who can even afford it.
Yeah.
And then guess what happened 2 days later?
Before.
Hey man. Hey, they
Well-
lined up at the Gucci store like it didn't even matter.
Right.
Well, let me
Didn't
say
even matter.
this. So, yeah, I think that it's the blessing and the curse of us as black people, where black people are welcoming. They don't care what you look like, what you sound like. If you are just honest, loyal, like these are such important words to the community. Honest, loyal, authentic. You know, we're going to embrace you. Not every culture is like that. You know what I mean? You can be all that. You can cross all those. You can check all those boxes in other cultures, and they still won't accept you. Like for country music, right? There's so many more boxes that they require you before they're comfortable, and I still don't think they're fully comfortable with you.
They don't want to say.
It's almost like
bro.
in basketball, like people always say, yo, Larry Bird was a bad dude.
Yeah.
Like he was just a basketball player to us because he was that good at basketball.
Right.
And that's kind of how we are. If you're just all what we need, loyal, honest, all that, we can embrace you. But, you know, I will say, I do have a question for you guys. So at what point do you say, like, this is just the standard, right? Like, at what point do you say hip hop is just a standard genre? Like, at what point do we say fried chicken is just a standard food? Because, you know, I do feel like us as black people, we get caught up in saying this is the black thing, right?
Yeah.
But we're American too. America is just as much ours as it is everybody else's.
You know.
So fried chicken might just be an American food. You know what I'm saying?
Well, is it?
We
well, is it-
created it.
But hold on.
Hip
But
hop
is it-
might just be an American genre.
Let me ask you though. I know you asked me a question, but I'm
And
gonna throw right
I'm
back
being
at you though.
somewhat sarcastic. You know what I
I
mean?
get it. So I get it. And let's assume fried chicken. Let's stay on that point. Let's assume fried chicken is a American food. If that's the case, right? Then how can it be used in a derogatory manner towards black people and not it also be associated with other people within America?
Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying? Like we know that when people when they eat fried chicken, you must be black. When people say that, is it really an American food or is it a
I know.
black food?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, because we all get caught up in, you know, the race thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, tacos is a Mexican or I don't know, Latin food, right? But there's so many variations of tacos now. There's so many American companies making tacos, Asian companies. It's now become an American food.
Yeah. No.
So like when you see do you think about it these days when you see a taco that's like a cordon bleu taco?
Yeah.
Do you think like, damn, they're appropriating Mexican culture? You know what I mean? Nah, you're just like, that's a taco.
Yeah.
When you eat spaghetti or pizza, you're just like, are they appropriating Italian culture?
You know what I think?
You know, at a certain point, we got to give ourselves credit as Americans.
We do, but I think we know, like we're all black people. We're sitting here and we know that a lot of our stuff is the standard, but people don't give it the respect, right? Like if we said that, I think people would be like, I don't know. It's the way that black people, we have a very unique relationship with this country than anybody else. And I know
That's
it's going to be a
facts.
different conversation, but we recognize it. But like you said with Post Malone, like with the whole music thing, like, why are you being disrespectful though? Like it's okay, move on in peace and silence. Miley Cyrus did the same thing. A lot of these artists do the same thing. And the reason why people like an Eminem or they like a certain thing is because a lot of times they stay in their place. You know what I mean? Like you stay in your place. There's like a unique disrespect that happens to our culture. And people know it's popular. They know it's popular. But they won't say it. They won't give black people the credit and the recognition. And that's what we want. I think if they would say, hey, black people created this, but it is a part of American culture. We're going to respect it as a black creation, but we're going to adapt and adopt it into our culture in a way that's respectful. I think we'd be cool with that. But they don't do that.
Of course.
They don't do that. They
They're
literally
They will
so quick to disrespect it.
Not only will they disrespect it, but they will never acknowledge the contribution.
They won't acknowledge.
They won't even acknowledge it happened. They be like, they'll just assume they won't. They'll people will go out of their way to literally just make it seem like, oh, this is what we've always been doing.
Yeah,
like I got so many examples,
Facts.
man. Like
Facts.
whether it's the Kim Kardashian clan,
Yeah.
you know, and their sort of influence into pop culture and how they kind of used, in my personal opinion, a lot of black imagery and black style and just, I mean, look at the people they date. They've latched onto black people.
Yeah.
And listen, if people want to date black people that are not black, I'm okay with that. Like, it's not a big deal. But again, it's the acknowledgement of the influence and how it was leveraged in order to create, right, what people end up creating. So again, this is a deeper convo. We see it in every facet of our society.
Yeah.
It's not just music. This is in fashion.
Everything.
It's in music. It's in politics. It's in inventions. Yo, I just found out the other day that George Washington Carver, right? I'm going
Was
left.
black.
No, I knew he was black, sir. You know how people always try to say George Washington Carver created peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. Fam, do you know that this guy? See, they try to limit and minimize the contribution.
Yeah.
No, actually, what he did was he used peanuts to scientifically fuel various aspects of the agriculture.
I know that.
Technology that was there at the time. Whether it's nutrition, like peanuts were used in so many different facets of society and humanity.
Yeah.
But everybody just says, "Oh, he created peanut butter." It's the minimization and the lack of like even knowledge, to be honest with you, where people just don't even really understand who influences who and understand how black people have contributed rather to like society. So I think it's Camryn, you're right. It's the just acknowledge the contribution and move on. Like, how hard is it? How hard is it to do, man?
We don't ask for that much. Like, but we really don't. Like, acknowledge it. Like, I'm telling you, like, I don't mind certain people making certain kinds of music, but it's the acknowledgement. And I even think, like, with this Elvis Presley movie that just came out, he's a whole other person who, to me, I feel like he stole certain music and didn't give the credit. And you see that with a lot of black artists, ushering these sounds in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating because that had real life implications for them, especially at that time, right? Like, so that's my issue. It's the acknowledgement. I think that's the main thing. Just give us the acknowledgement. Like, learn the history. And yeah, we can share to an extent, or you can be let in. But it's just a certain disrespect that makes it uneasy and unsettling to me. And that's where I'm mostly critical with people. Is just do the research. Don't displace us from it. Don't erase us from it like they always do with everything. And if you don't do that, we'll be good. You know what I mean? But
Well, that is
until then,
well said.
Yeah, just don't displace us. That's all. Like, I feel like that's the
love it.
thing. But that's a whole other
Right,
conversation, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can. There's
See
so
how
many
my
different areas we can go with
sarcastic-
that.
I want to let you guys know I was being sarcastic by the way, with my question.
Started a whole conversation,
No, you
But-
don't.
right?
You think it's crack music? What are you talking about?
That one, no, I'm not being sarcastic, but
Like, I was dead serious.
Nah,
Yeah, you're like,
but
no,
that was
I
dope.
mean,
no, that was a really good. I think that's honestly, I feel like we can kind of end on that. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, like, I think that's a really good way to end the show. Camryn, this has been fun.
yes, thank you guys.
I hope the people kind of enjoyed the show and the flow of things. Where can the people find you at?
They
And what do you
can
have
find
next
me-
going on?
Yeah, so they can find me. My Instagram is @Camryn_Suzanne. My YouTube is Camryn Suzanne. So that's really what I go by. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm really consistent with my content. And I'd love to branch out a lot more with podcasting. This was so much fun today. Next is just continuing to create. I live life day by day because per the slash, right? Like, I have so many things going on. But if you follow my socials, I have links to everything. My writing, like link trees. So I'll make sure maybe we could put that in the bio or something. But yeah, guys, just tap in, please. So thank you guys for having me, though. This was so much
awesome.
This was so much fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
You were amazing. I mean, great.
Thank
We,
you.
you know what, Uch, we got to get the bag together.
Oh
Got to
boy.
get the bag. Revise, wise guys and girls. I'm
Guys and
sold.
No, this was so much fun. Like, for real, you guys are awesome. Like, great energy, great vibes. You guys have made me feel so comfortable, like, throughout this entire process. So definitely, you guys should
Awesome.
be supporting. You guys are supporting the right people. If you're listening to this right now, continue to support because you guys have an awesome platform. So yeah.
Awesome.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, on that note, I think it's time to end the show. With that being said, as always, if you are giving advice, just make sure it's ill. That's all I ask.